this on? Are we on? Oh, we are. Have I just been staring at the screen? Okay. Hi guys. What's going on? Hoping that there's going to be limited technical difficulties. Like, honestly, behind this screen is a nightmare. It's just all nuts and bolts. I've really just tried to figure out what's working. But hey, guys, what's going on? So right, you guys probably saw the poll. Maybe you didn't. But I was trying to figure out something that would work for everyone by doing a live stream. I mean, if you've seen the latest manga chapter, then you'll know that there's going to be a month-long hiatus anyway. So, perfect week to do it. It means that we can just go through all of the previous chapters. I've added a little link into the comments and stuff, just so that you guys can follow along. I don't want to stream the entirety of the manga panels, because the copyright gods would destroy me. But yeah, no. So it's great to see you all. I'm Michael, or Safety's on Rookie, or whatever it is you want to call me. Ideally, one of the two. And yeah, so it's great to see so many of the same faces in the chat. I like that we're building a little community here. So seeing the same guys is pretty badass. So what I was thinking is we're just going to go through the panels. I'm going to try and treat it a little bit kind of like a looser version of the videos. Again, I'd probably follow along with the manga that I've attached to the chat, just so that we can all stay on top of it, because obviously it's just, otherwise you're just going to be looking at my face explaining it to you, and if that's what you want, then I'm more than happy to accommodate with that. But yeah, so let's just get to it, guys. All right, so we're going to start partway through chapter 164. So that's kind of just the end of the previous arc, the Denmar arc. Lot of stuff happened, right? Like the most important of which I think is, eventually we'll get to doing the actual arc and stuff in a main video. I've got another video coming out ideally this week for the Evil Eye arc, so be ready for that. But we'll get to the Denmar arc eventually, so I don't want to step into that turf too much. So obviously they've escaped the board game. The confession has happened, so that's pretty badass, which I loved. The Jumanji arc, and so it's the kind of after arc dinner that we're at the moment. So we're just gonna start from there, if that's okay. I'm gonna try my best to do off the cuff analysis, but it's not gonna be as well formed as some of the stuff that would be attached to the video. You get it. Okay. So, this is the biggest dinner that we've seen yet. Psycho is there, and she's essentially spent all of her money on feeding everyone. All of Zuma's friends and everything. He's in the hospital at the moment, but yeah, they're all eating. And, I don't know how she affords all of this. And doing the Evil Eye arc recently, and again, don't want to spoil anything, but I realized just how generous Psycho is, right? So much of her generosity is it's just on full display all the time, and these dinner arcs, she has this kind of responsibility, I think. This feeling of responsibility, or that kids shouldn't have to carry the burdens that adults should carry, and you see that a lot in the Evil Eye arc, and these dinners, I think, are such a major part of it, right? She feeds so many people here or at her house, and the cast keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, so more and more and more she's feeding so many people, right? Anyway, so whole school's eating, and they're loving it. But our main cast, you've got Ida, and I love this. This is so good, right? So obviously, Momo is shrunken down. She's tiny. The exact size of Momo seems to keep changing panel to panel, but she's at least small enough to be able to fit into Ida's dollhouse. And Ida loves this, right? So much has changed since where we previously were at with the Cursed House arc and the Serpo stuff, where we currently are in my videos at least. But we see Ida playing around with Momo and trying to dress her up and make her wear all these different dresses, and she's the same size as all of Ida's toys and stuff, so it's pretty entertaining to just see that, because they've become really good friends, right? Like over time, and they're comfortable enough to do this. Like something I noticed in some of the earlier areas around the Space Globalist arc is Ida starts referring to Momo by her first name, right? So she calls her Momo, which isn't something that everybody does. So they become friends, even if they are still kind of rivals. So Momo loses it, and she starts to throw around the stuff. She doesn't want to wear these dresses. She doesn't want to do dress up, and she's quite frustrated. You know how Momo is, right? Anyway, hopefully that wasn't too loud. She's trying to get her to play and have tea, essentially, with all of her toys. It's silly. It really is silly. And Vimola's totally into it as well. Anyway, so everybody's kind of shocked, Kinta included. And something to note here, and a lot of people lost their minds. If you watch the GG analysis that I did, guys, you'll see that GG is, at least in my opinion, I think GG is pretty clearly in love with Momo. It doesn't feel like it's a question to me. It just feels like that's kind of where they're at, right? And he's kind of upset that nobody asked for his help, right? Okurun tries to explain. He says that he couldn't stay calm. And if you remember back to the arc, you know, he was panicked. All he wanted to do was get it sorted, and it's such an emotional kind of moment, right? And I think it had to be, too. Again, we'll cover this in the videos, but it really had to be a moment between just the two of them, because the confession couldn't have happened any other way, right? Anyway, he apologizes to Gigi for not bringing him along. But Gigi doesn't seem massively interested in Okurun's apology, which is strange. He directs himself immediately at Momo. He says Momo, and she asks him what it is, and then he says, promise me that next time you'll ask me to join you as well. Not just Okurun. I think he's quite hurt that he's been left behind. And, you know, that makes sense. It's one of those things where he views Momo, I think, as closer emotionally than they really are. And so when he is left behind, he's hurt. He doesn't want to be left behind. He wants to be there. He wants to help her. And that's when Momo and Okurun look at each other, and they remember what happened at the end of the last arc. You know, as Okurun was being pulled out of the board game, and Momo had to stay, it could have been the last moment. That could have been it, right? They might have never seen each other again. And when he was floating off, Momo essentially said to reconfess your feelings when they're both out. And they remember this, and it's something that needs to be addressed, because these two, they don't talk. They don't talk about anything ever. They just the moments happen, right? When these moments happen between the two of them, it's not like a choice exactly. It just happens, right? Like when they hold hands, or when they hugged, or anything like that. They have these feelings that are just inside of them all the time, and they don't know how to speak about it, because that requires this conscious understanding of what it is exactly that those feelings are. And the difficulty with that is you have to admit them, you know, to yourself and to the other person and say them. But they aren't in a stage where they can do that with each other. Well, apart from just at the end of the last arc. So what happens is, in these moments where they feel, just really feel, they just act, you know? Like their bodies just do. So when he confessed, when they hold hands, it's like there's something inside of them that just is forcing it to the surface to be acknowledged. But then Ida is also quite upset as well. She's like, anything paranormal related, you should come to us as well. And Momo is, you know, being accosted from all sides, right? And Gigi insists again, and he says that Momo is precious to him. I know a lot of people online got very upset at this moment, because I think that there is a lot of protectiveness about Momo and Okurun in the fan base, and I get it. You know, these two I really do belong to together. So the fact that they kind of, sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to this. No, but the fact that they kind of, the fact that these two should be together, and Gigi, I suppose, threatens that for a lot of people, is something that they don't really like. But if you're comfortable with this, with them, with these two, and I think that it's pretty clear from the get-go that Momo and Okurun are the two that are going to end up together, right? So if you're comfortable with that, and you understand that that's the design and the intention, then everything else is just filler, right? It just pushes the two of them together. And I agree. I also hope that they get together and then it doesn't end there, because I want to see it. I think we all deserve to see it, right? And I do think it's coming soon. Anyway, so everybody's upset and they're all having dinner and everything. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then Mai essentially challenges Ida, saying that if it was just her and Rin, it would have been plenty. A lot of people don't like Mai. I'm kind of on the fence about her. She's not really shown up a lot, because Rin has kind of been weirdly sidelined, I think. The cast is getting really, really big now, and she's got a lot of other things to go. You know, she does her own stuff as well. She's not just part of the main cast, but we'll see. So they have a confrontation with each other, and it makes sense. They both got very big personalities. Ida thinks that she's top dog, and and so does Mai. So the two of them struggle against each other. At least Mai seems to think that Rin should be top dog. And if, you know, the Ombudsman arc, and we'll get to that eventually in the main videos, yeah, that clears a lot of that up. Anyway, it turns out that Momo's completely healed from her issue when she was in the thing, because she got pretty banged up when she was in the box, but she's totally back to normal. Gigi turns to Psycho and he asks her, how do we turn her back to normal? And she doesn't know. You shouldn't eat stuff from Otherworld. I mean, apparently that's common knowledge. But yeah, so the actual path to getting back to normal is pretty unclear. And that's a lot of Psycho's objective through this arc. She turns to Okurun and she thanks him for getting Momo out of the cursed trunk, because really it was unlikely that they were going to. And she also thanks Turbo Granny for being by Momo's side. I think we've gotten all the way around now to the point where Turbo Granny is more than just some captive former spirit, right? She's family. She chose to stay. Just like, she didn't have to stay. She chose to stay in the cursed box in order to ensure that Momo wasn't by herself on her own. And I think that's just so nice because she cares. She doesn't like to admit it, but she does. She really does care about Momo, and she views her as precious to Saiko. And you know, these are both two old ladies. Like one, they may not look like old ladies, but they're both grandmas. And you know, there's back in the Evil Eye arc, Saiko says that you shouldn't underestimate grandmas. And they don't. And I don't think that we should, because clearly Turbo Granny's dedicated. Anyway, so Okurun starts to ask, how can we fix her, essentially? And they swear that they'll find a way to do it, whatever it takes. And I think that sets up Saiko's objectives for this arc. Anyway, next chapter, 165. These are the strangest moments. I think it only works if they say Ken Takakura. For some reason, it has to be the whole thing. So we get to the strangest stuff, which is whenever they find one of the balls, the golden nuts. Yeah, they always do this weird. It's not even a ritual. It's just bizarre, right? It's just so bizarre. They do baseball with it, essentially, and they always miss. Like, Turbo Granny's pretty quick, and she always manages to hit her target without someone smashing it into the distance. And in fact, this bit where they're all lined up and Turbo Granny's got the ball ready to throw it, you can they do this thing. They keep doing this thing throughout all of these panels, like this arc. Whenever Momo is on screen, and it's hard to see her, like she's like here, they just stick an arrow and just point to her as like she's here, right? Absolutely love that. It's just ridiculous because she's tiny, and it's weird that nobody can like see her either. Anyway, they do the whole weird batter swing thing, and everybody's pretty into it, to be honest. Like, it started out with just Turbo Granny, Saiko, and Momo, and now we've got this whole cast of people, basically a whole team. While Okurun's just there as kind of like a a subject almost, right? And it must be so awkward for him. This is his balls, right? They've thrown his balls back into his body, and they're making a game out of it, a literal game out of it. Anyway, Turbo Granny throws the ball, and unlike every other time, Saiko finally hits it. Like, she smacks it, it goes flying, pelts across the entire field, and it's gone, right? This thing, and Okurun is just sat there in anticipation, just waiting for it to go down like it's always gone down, but it doesn't, and it goes off into the sky. And I don't think anybody really anticipated what happened next, like what was supposed to happen when they hit the ball. Obviously it was going to go flying, but anyway, afterward they're all scouring the field trying to look for his ball. The whole objective of this series so far has been to find his balls. Yeah, and they get it, and then they decide, well, let's just smack it into outer space, right? Because that makes sense. Anyway, they obviously find it, and Okurun has both of his family jewels back firmly in place. Finally. Amazing. Everyone's really happy, they did it, and Momo, as tiny as she is, turns to Okurun and says, you know, isn't this great? And unfortunately, Okurun can't really bask in the moment. Sorry, I've got audio running, but it's only 15 minutes long. Fantastic. This is really good, by the way. I it's Lo-Fi Leah. Really good stuff. There's a link in the description. I've been using it for quite a few of my things recently, as you'll soon find out. Anyway, yes, so he can't really bask in the moment. He's just upset that Momo's small now, right? It's so like, he finally, literally and metaphorically found his balls and had what it took to announce his feelings. And he can't have them accepted because Momo's tiny now, right? It's cruel in its own kind of way, but it does, I suppose, put us on a new mission. And Momo tries to keep a brave face, essentially saying, we're going to find a way to get me back to normal. And we'll see. Ida's pretty satisfied with her as she is because she thinks she's more adorable this way. And Momo tells her to shut it. Although Ida has a collection of clothes and stuff to try on, and she's basically a toy at this point, like a little doll. And now that he has his balls back, Turbo Granny wants her power back. That was the agreement way back at the beginning. I mean, we saw that in the first season, right? In the first few chapters, that they agreed that if she helped, then when they get Okurun's family jewels back, they would also give her powers back. And Okurun, you know, he's an honest guy. He's not. None of these guys are really the type to go back on a deal like this, and he does. He says, look, you know, I'll give it back. Because they made a promise. And it's the right thing to do. And she's family, right? Anyway. He thanks Turbo Granny for letting him use her power all this time. And how it really saved them. And it did. I don't know what they would have done if Okurun didn't have her powers. Turbo Granny's just like, you know, give it back now. That's the kind of cat grandma that she is, isn't it? Really, like she's not really the type of person to go, oh, thanks. She's quite stern, and she pretends that she hates everyone, even though we know that she doesn't. And then Psycho hits him with the fan, and the powers transfer back into Turbo Granny, who keeps her her Menekineko form, which is weird. That all that power is, I mean, I guess she's gotten used to being a cat, right? So she keeps her form, and we see that massive spiral that we saw in the first chapter, her true power, and everyone's shocked, surprised, and don't even know if she's going to attack or whether she's going to, you know, or what she's going to do, I suppose. Ida and Gigi are especially shocked. They've never seen this side to her before. Yeah, I suppose she is happy that that Okurun is to herself now. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff. Well, we'll get to it in a minute, but a lot of that that panel is so cool. I feel like, honestly, this has some of the best art. It's absolutely incredible. But, yeah, we're going to talk about the relationships and stuff really soon, guys. I tend to overdo the descriptions and stuff like that, so I apologize if I'm dragging on it all. Anyway, Ida asks Gigi to let out the eye to defend them, but Turbo Granny seals her power back inside of herself, and she says that, well, now that she's got her power back, there's no reason to stick around. And they remember all the moments that they had together, and she leaves with just a nice, casual see you. And Momo, smaller than Turbo Granny now, just kind of watches as she leaves. I reckon she's still the cat. It's just, you know, it's not a bad form. She seems to like her life as a cat, you know? There are worse fates. Anyway, we're on chapter 166, guys. So, we see Momo eating a grain of rice, essentially like a mochi ball. I mean, she can get full on what appears to be a handful of rice, right? So, yeah. I mean, to be honest, must be a lot cheaper for Psycho now. But she's just chowing down on it. 2 grains is apparently enough. And she can't even eat any meat. And she does say that she would have liked some ramen, but I don't even know what that would look like. She could just swim around in ramen, right? Anyway, so she ate 2 centimeters of a noodle, and she'd be full. So, I she drinks through a syringe, right? Like, all it takes is a couple of drops of water, and she's hydrated. And we see a couple of panels that could be used in some very unusual, like, you know, the internet, right? So, like, anyway. Yeah, so Vamola covered her in too much water. And she apologizes. She let out too much of it on her. And the surface tension alone could kill her. And she's got the little balls of water just hanging around her like in the International Space Station kind of thing. Which must be quite useful, I suppose. She can just carry little pocketfuls of it around. Oh yeah, and then there you go. She essentially alludes to the idea that this is what it is to be an astronaut. By the way, if anybody new who's jumping in, there's a link for the comics manga it's pinned, just in case. Alright, guys? Anyway. It's worth addressing as well that Vamola's English, Japanese, you know, human, has gotten very good over time. And she's able to have full-blown conversations now. And she asked Momo if she's having fun, and Momo says no, she's not having fun at all. Although she is happy to not be going to school anymore. At least that's what she thinks. Saiko tells her that she is going to be going to school because she's behind in her studies. And yeah, I guess that makes sense as well, because these guys barely... Like, I know that there's space in between the arcs, which we probably don't see, but these guys don't do any studying. They don't, like, when they're at school, all they're doing is going on little missions and stuff. It's constantly searching for the balls, right? So yeah. Anyway, she calls Saiko an old fart, and Vamola says that she can ride around in her backpack, and she will be riding around in people's pockets and backpacks and everything. So not inaccurate. Then Saiko basically says, don't let anybody see you or you'll cause a panic. And she asks for a report card, but that's enough, I suppose. It must be bad. Like, Anyway, fast forward to school. Yeah, I know. Can you imagine, like... Well, it's weird because she seems to still have powers, right? She seems to still have powers that are capable of being as strong as when she normally is, like when her normal size, that kind of thing. Despite the fact she's tiny, so I don't know. She'll need to buy. It's probably cheaper than the normal uniforms, to be honest. I mean, she's constantly buying uniforms every other day anyway because they get shredded every time anybody changes into any form, right? Especially Gigi. Anyway, she's riding around in Vamola's pocket, just kind of like pretty upset, and it is funny. It's cute, and Ida sees that, and she absolutely just loses her mind. She loves this. This is like the best thing that's ever happened for her. And Okurun's shocked that she's actually coming to school. Momo says that she doesn't want other people to see her, so they want to not draw attention to her, essentially. And it would be a problem if anybody else saw her anyway. However, nobody seems to. It's, you know, I suppose nobody is paying attention to Vamola's desk, but she's just there writing on tiny little scraps of paper on Vamola's page. And also, I don't know if she drew the little flowers next to her or whether it was Vamola, but it's very cute. Okurun basically says that you're speaking too loudly and you're too out in the open, but, you know, everybody seems to just be, like, pretty fine with the situation. In fact, people are more surprised by Okurun making noise. She tries to wave and yell at one of the other classmates to look at her, but nobody pays any mind to her at all. So I suppose that covers the portion of whether or not people are actually going to be looking at her, right? See, that's what I thought. I thought that it must be related to people being able to see spirits, that kind of thing. It like, I suppose it's the same thing as the little pygmies that we see soon. They're just so small that nobody seems to be able to see them unless you have powers, right? I don't know. It must be related to the fact that it's a curse. Anyway, the guy turns to Vimola and thinks that she's talking to him, and she says, "No, I wasn't." She's very... I don't know whether or not it's because she doesn't understand the social graces of speaking Japanese, but she's very matter-of-fact. In fact, I've heard that these kind of outbursts where she's very blunt are even more blunt in the Japanese, so... Anyway, nobody noticed her, and Okurun is still pretty stressed out at the concept of somebody actually noticing her. And Momo says that this must be what it's like to be a fairy, don't you think? And yeah, I suppose that this is the argument, like you were saying, Black Enigma, about the idea that people can't really see her. It's kind of the same rules as things like fairies. So that nestles it away quite nicely as a spiritual thing, I suppose. Anyway, the teacher gets upset at Okurun, thinking that he's making the noise because he's talking to Momo, and he gets in trouble, blaming Momo for it. And then everybody agrees to go meet in the library, which is where they go. And they start looking for books about fairies, novels, history books, anything really that could lead them to some kind of solution about Momo's size. They show up in a lot of artwork, as Rin shows. And it's usually connected to socially vulnerable people, as a lot of Dandadan is, right? It's a lot of... It concerns itself with people who are slightly outcast or on the fringe of society. And you see that with the yokai, and a lot of the spiritual elements are tied up to this side of it, right? Momo apologizes that everybody's doing all of this for her. And Okurun essentially says that that's fine, don't say that, it's not something to be upset about. And everybody wants to band together to help her. And it turns out that Turbo Granny never did come back, either. Not once. Momo says that she figured that when she'd get hungry, she'd come right back, but she never did. Again, she's a cat, right? Like, really, that's just her soul at this point, is the soul of a cat. And they miss her, right? Yeah, she's a family member at this point. She's been around for so long, and she's gone through so much with all of them that it's hard not to. And with the curse went Okurun's powers. To be expected. He can't change into his yokai form anymore. He got his family jewels back, but I guess that was the cost. And everything's back in place. Bob's your uncle. Yeah. Anyway. I know, Psycho must be really lonely. It's quite sad. Because they were like best friends. They just sit and watch TV with each other all day. Anyway. Okurun. So Momo is in Okurun's pocket. And they're walking around the library. And he thinks now is the time to discuss his confession. He broaches the topic. And again, this is like a big thing for them. Because they don't talk about these things. Like I said earlier, they just don't. So the fact that he's going out of his way to say it, he knows that it needs to be addressed, right? After so many things that they've gone through, especially the love you know in the Space Globalist arc, Momo's always tried to push Okurun to be the one to say something, to say anything about how he feels about her, and now he's doing that. And she's not ready for it. And I don't know. Momo is obviously the kind of person to get into her head about things, right? Like, that's just who she is. She's not the type of person to necessarily say what she wants or know what she wants necessarily, but she imagines scenes in her head of Okurun doing this, Okurun doing that, you know, him saying that he loves her, right? Or dreaming about it, or imagining a different outcome to stuff, but she never imagines how she would respond to the situation or to what he would say. Like, what happens next? When she's laying in bed thinking about Okurun and thinking about him confessing his feelings, hi, good to see you, Paul. It's great to see so many of the same people here, by the way. Like, honestly, you guys are the best. Anyway, you never see how she responds in these dreams. She never imagines, oh, so then I do this. So now this is happening. Now that he's done it, he's taken that step, right? He's done what needs to be done. He's said what needs to be said, but she doesn't know how to respond to that. And as so many people have already pointed out online, this is why she's small. She needs to grow up and grow into this person. And that's why she's so small, right? Figuratively speaking, anyway. So she says that she's not ready to discuss it, at least not until she's properly normal again. And Okurun says that he understands, because obviously he wants to kick the can down the road for at least a while longer. Because it's a scary thing, you know? It's taking something from outside of the realm of not knowing what something is and taking it into the world of what it actually is. No stress, man. Like, honestly, you're not late. No problem. You know, we're only in the main stuff. I don't know how long this is going to go on, by the way, guys. I'm in the UK, so time's a little bit later here, but we'll make it work, guys. Anyway. He says that he understands, and so they get to not worry about it for a little bit longer. And honestly, reading these panels is because you just want it to happen already. He did the confession. It's like, what's next? What's left? I don't know. Anyway, so despite them not having confessed fully, properly, she says, don't even think about cheating on me, to Okurun. So they're kind of, again, in this strange spot where they have this... It's always unspoken, right? But it's as clear in focus as it's ever been, and they basically kind of together without having to say it and without having to tell anybody else about the fact that they're together. And so when she says, don't even think about cheating on me, he says, what do you mean cheating? We aren't even going steady yet. And she says, well, that must mean that he intends to cheat. And she explodes at him, and he says that's not what he's saying. And they get back into that typical kind of back and forth that they always have, where they're kind of, you know what I mean? She's killing me as well. Absolutely. Like, I love these two, and I think Momo's such a good character, but I think she's buried the excuse of Okurun not being honest underneath, well, she's buried it for so long now that I don't think she ever expected him to say anything, and now that he has, what's next? What does she do next? I don't know. So her being tiny is a pretty good excuse for that. And it's not the same when she's tiny. The bickering is kind of like a little safe space. It's what I love about it is it's kind of like this back and forth is so unique to the two of them. Yeah, it's great. I don't know, maybe they will confess. Like, part of me thinks that this arc only ends with something awful happening to kick the can down the road further, especially after the end of this last chapter, as they've just both split apart, essentially, with this look to each other, which shivers down my spine. Anyway. Or they confess. Those are the two options. Like, one way or another, we're going to get something definitive next. Anyway, she spots a tiny little gnome pygmy guy behind the books. Next chapter, 167. Momo draws his attention to the fact that there was someone there and tells him to chase this little guy. It was a tiny old man, and Okarun obviously immediately knows what it is. It's a famous cryptid. And Momo says, oh, well, it like a fairy. And starts to theorize that maybe the same thing happened to this old man that happened to her. Maybe he was shrunk down. But just like that, the school breaks over because, believe it or not, they are at school still, which is, again, really easy to forget. And she decides to stay there while he goes back to class so she can look for the old man. And Okarun's uncomfortable about this. He's like, I don't like it. But she insists that she'll be fine and throws up her peace signs as usual and says that, you know, she won't wander around too much, poking fun at him for being worried about her. And he is. He says it. He's super worried about her. He's become such a forward guy over time, right? I know. I want them to kiss as well. Look, we'll get there. You know, whatever's being cooked up, it's good. It must be good, right? This month, these next 4 weeks are gonna absolutely kill me. Like, the idea of waiting another 4 weeks is shocking to me. Anyway, Kinta runs up, everyone's favorite character. Everyone's favorite character, Kinta, runs up and says that him and Okarun have gym class next. And then Ida asks whether or not Momo wants to go with her, but she says she's going to stay and check out, you know, the little guy. And Okarun again tries to tell her not to move around too much, and they all part ways. Momo is indeed the queen of masking her emotions. Absolutely right. Sorry, I don't know. 4 weeks, like they're on hiatus again for another month. Yeah, pure beef. No, they're on hiatus again. I mean, to be fair, these guys cook every week, right? Tatsu knows what's good, but occasionally that means we have a month off. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to have broke that to you. Yeah, but hey, look, you know, it gives us all a bit of time to theorize what happens next, right? Anyway, everyone shoots off in their own directions, and I think Momo's just really happy that everybody's all friends and stuff. Like, she just watches them run off. Well, he needs to spend some of that money he got from the anime, you know? Like, he needs to enjoy his life rather than just draw every day. And then she hopes that she could go back to normal soon. In gym class, we see Okarun. And he's thinking about Momo, obviously. These guys are obsessed with each other. And Kinta turns to Okarun and basically indicates that he's the guy in charge, that he's the major, and Okarun is a private. Ridiculous. Like, to be fair, Kinta's grown on me a bit as time's gone on. When he first jumped it onto the team, I was kind of like, you know, he was a bit much, but he's alright. He's alright. We'll see. He's alright. Anyway. Yes, so it's essentially their time to jump into the fray and start exercising, right? God forbid. And Kinta is alluding to the notion that maybe he could win. I don't think that Okarun has come to the conclusion that he's a tough guy yet, right? Like, some of that power carried over from Turbo Grannies. Anyway, one of the bullies from way back when Okarun was a nerd basically challenges him to a run, and everybody loves him. He's just a douche, right? Like, he thinks that he's an easy target, and this is part of going back to school for the characters, is that we start to see these dynamics that previously existed shaken up by everything that's happened, by all that we've gone through and what they've gone through. I think that's Magnet guy, yeah. He's a... You know what I mean? Anyway, he's giving it big because he's like, yeah, let's go, easy peasy. And he brags about how fast he is, and Okurun is really down about the notion that he's going to be running against this guy because, you know, they've not really been going to school properly for a while now. And Okurun smokes him, just smokes him. It's great, I love it. And he's shook. He's like, whoa, like how did I do that kind of thing? Everyone's shocked. It's faster than his run, than his fastest run, and everyone's amazed. And even Okurun is amazed. And, you know, a lot of this arc, the school stuff actually is really engaging. I really like it when we go back to the school because we see how far everybody's come and changed. And, I don't know, seeing everybody so lonely, especially Okurun so lonely at the beginning of the show series, and then seeing him actually have friends, it's just, oh, it's great. I love it. It's brilliant. And then Okurun does more feats of incredible fitness and absolutely smokes everybody else. The long jump, throwing, sidestep, shuttle run. He's just killing it. Everybody's amazed. He's like a pro athlete now. And even the coach is... And his trousers are like up here, by the way. The coach's trousers are like up here. And he wants to get him into his club. But he can't. He's in the Historical Culture Research Club. The Occult Club. And he asks him to join the baseball team. But even without her powers, and he thinks, you know, he thinks back to Turbo Granny, he's gotten really fit and in shape, essentially. I know. Muko and Miko are actually in one of the bonus chapters. Someone translated it. Someone translated it online from the Japanese release in the actual volume that came out recently, and it's the first time we've seen them since, like, what, I don't know, maybe the Evil Eye arc, right? I don't know. Crazy. The coach is very good. That's a good point. They've not seen her in ages. In fact, she's in a completely different class. Yeah. Anyway, she's looking around. Momo's looking around for this guy, and she's using her spiritual powers. And her powers, she's still using them as if she's normal sized. It's like I said earlier. It's kind of like, doesn't seem to have affected her spiritual side. And she's just kind of swinging around like Spider-Man, looking for this old man, running into dust bunnies, checking out the goldfish. Must be really strange from that size. And she thinks maybe that she was just seeing things, and then someone appears with a knife. She's looking around, trying to find something, presumably Momo, and she's looking everywhere in the library trying to find her. She's got this really crazed expression, and her hair is completely over her face. She's quite different from anybody that we've seen. And then she calls for Momo. And that's as good as evidence as any that she's looking for her. And Momo's shocked, realizes that she's looking for her, and she knows that she has turned little, which means that she's well informed about what's happening in the group. So Momo gets out of there, and this girl goes crazy, telling her to yield to her. Very strange. Momo gets trapped under a book, and the girl approaches with the blade in her hand, thinking that she's hiding under the book. But fortunately, she pulls up the book and can't find her, and she runs out of the room, while Momo has clearly managed to get up onto one of the shelves. So something's kicking off. There's a lot of cloak and daggers in this arc. It's very different from every other arc, I feel, because what's exactly happening is very unclear, and who's behind it is very unclear, right? It's usually something that they can just get strong and fight through, but seeing this is like, it's like fighting shadows, right? Okurun runs through the hallway, and he runs into Sanjome, one of the teachers, the teacher who nobody can seem to remember, who looks a lot like Count Saint-Germain, and I feel like it must be him, right? Like, it has to be him, but it does feel weird that it's so obvious that it's like that's him. Anyway, he tells him to stop running in the hall, and he kind of like bumps into him, and essentially says that, you know, don't run. And Okurun says that he'll be more careful. He asks Okurun about the club activities, asking if they've made any new secret discoveries, and Okurun says yes, he's just in a bit of a hurry. And Sanjome says, I wonder where you might be going and what kind of secrets you might have uncovered. Okurun says, I'm in a rush, but Sanjome says that won't do. He says, again, Okurun says another time, and Sanjome says no, and that noise cancelling isn't his cup of tea. Don't really know what that means. Okurun's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and he says about uncovering secrets. In order to cancel out noise, the noise waveform is hit with opposite waveform. It's the same as the relationship between plus and minus. You would expect to hear twice as much noise, but what actually happens is that you simply no longer hear it. So audio cancelling itself out by two opposing patterns. But for him, it makes him feel sickly. This is all nonsense for the most part, right? And he starts to ask him about the phenomenon of metronome synchronization. That if you randomly start... This must become relevant at some point, right? Like, I don't know if I missed something, but talking about synchronizing all of the metronomes as the vibrations transmit across them. He's just absolutely just pelting him with facts, you know. And then he says, instead of having true free will, a human's actions are decided by the characteristic vibrational frequencies of the bacteria in their bodies. And then he asks Okurun if he'll yield. I suppose that he's just... I think what he's doing is he's overloading him. There must be something in here about vibrations, and which we haven't gotten to yet. I imagine it's going to be right, because this is just how Dandadan is, right? They never introduce something and never come back to it. It's usually very relevant later down the path. But it could also just be showing us that this guy knows a lot. His pursuit of knowledge is what drives him. That's his whole thing, is knowing all the secrets of the world, of the universe. And he uses this as a way to get Okurun to yield in the face of his knowledge. And Okurun's like, cool, no problem. I yield, you beat me. And Sanjome is shook. Now, I can only presume, and we see it here, he reaches down into his pocket and we see he's holding one of these blades. When he bumped into Okurun back there, I think that he stuck him with the blade. And when you stick someone with one of these blades, when you stab someone with one of these blades, you need them to then yield in order to take their powers. So, I think what he did is he stuck him with the blade without him realizing, and then asked him to yield. But obviously he no longer has Turbo Granny's powers in him anymore, so he couldn't take it. That's why he's so shook. I don't think he knows that he doesn't have those powers in him anymore. Or he thinks that Okurun is somehow wise to his tricks. Anyway, Momo then is talking to everyone, and she's basically explaining what it is that she saw with the girl previously. And it's about the blade. Like a letter opener, and she was looking for Momo. I'm not sure. I feel like maybe the yield comes before the stab. You could be correct, and that he noticed after he said yield that he didn't have the powers, so he didn't stab him. Because I feel like you probably would notice if someone stabbed you when you walk past, right? I don't know. It's unclear, but we'll get there, right? Anyway, everyone's asking her questions and getting very protective. And Okurun's late. And he learns that Momo was attacked. Momo jumps into Ira's pocket, and they start to look for this girl. She had long hair and told her to yield. And then Okurun remembers that somebody asked him to yield, but who? There's this memory wipe ability that makes me very nervous, by the way, because I hope that nobody is memory wiped in the group. That stresses me out. The idea that people could get memory wiped, Momo or Okurun specifically, is not something I'd want to entertain. Like, that stresses me out to even think about. Anyway, so when he's talking to Momo, technically he's talking to Ida's bosom. So she gets embarrassed, and Okurun's like, that's not what I was doing. And Ida's like, you did it on purpose to get my attention. And Momo's quite exacerbated by it. She's exhausted by it. Exasperated, rather. And there's this really weird spot that they're in where, you know, it's always been a back and forth with kind of like jealousy and things like that. But now it's pretty clear where Okurun's intentions are. He's confessed, right? So this continuing is just... Obviously, Ida doesn't know, but it does. It's a bit sad, you know, because it's not going anywhere. And I do think that this Ida and Okurun and Gigi and Momo is all going to come to a head soon, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal with the contest of knowledge is, Sarah. It's very unusual. Like, I don't know. I did notice that Sanjome was Gigi's favorite soccer team. Did I say soccer? Football. Don't tell anyone. Anyway, I don't know. He does think he's Professor X. So, as I was saying, Ida is basically grabbing Okurun and trying to get him to be honest and say that he was... She wanted him to be looking because she is desperately in love with this guy still. It's wild, yeah. No, for Ida and for America, you got me. Football, yes. Yeah, no, for Ida and for Gigi, this is like their thing, right? This is the as far as they're concerned, there is no Momo and Okurun. There's just Momo and Okurun. But anyway, this back and forth, it continues going, and she really wants him to say it was on purpose. And Okurun's like, okay, and he says it, and she's like, well, you were doing it then, and he got set up. I don't know. This is just like typical, isn't it? Like, and then obviously Kinta the whole time has been doing that, and she kicks him, and he seems to be into that, which is wild. I don't know. Anyway, then Momo says, hey, Four Eyes. He looks at her, and she's sulking. Again, they're in this spot where nobody else knows that these two are basically together at this point. But I don't know. It's such an awkward kind of place for them to be. Like, they're clearly... Just, guys, just be honest. Like, I know she's small, but just say it. I'll re-upload the live onto the channel, sure. Hopefully people see value in the live stream being replayed, but I don't know. I mean, to be honest, this has been a lot. There's been a lot more positive than I'd expected. I was a bit nervous about it because if you guys could see the setup that I've got here, I really just tried to, you know, duct tape things together to make it work. Not literally, but more or less. So the fact that anybody is watching this and enjoying it, that's great news. I apologize if my analysis is not as in-depth as it would have been in the main video. New video is coming ideally this week, hopefully Thursday, guys. I was thinking maybe doing a premiere for it so we could all watch it together. If that's something that interests you guys, please let me know. I'll maybe do a poll for it. I like to keep things nice and democratic on the channel. I feel like this is like a community, which is something I'm really enjoying. I hope that you guys are enjoying it too. And yeah, so new video this week, hopefully a premiere. Let's see. Obviously I have to do everything a little bit later because so many of you guys are in the States. Thanks, guys. You guys are the best. Honestly, this is such a great community. It's been such a positive experience. Like, I really feel like we're all really connected. Yeah, anyway, you guys are the best. Thursday. Let's see if we can do a premiere or something so we can all watch it together. I'll probably put like a schedule up for that so that we can all be aware of when that's coming. It could be as long as an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes, I think. And there is some stuff in this next video that I really like. Like when I was doing it, I was like, damn, that's good. I had to fight copyright tooth and nail to make sure that that it would get through. But I hope that you guys really enjoy it, because I'm so excited to release it. Anyway, he looks at Momo and she is pretty exhausted by Aida's behavior. Like, I suppose it's been going on for a long time. Aida tells Okurun that he doesn't need to be so formal with her. I think she's getting tired of waiting for him. I don't know. It's interesting. And Gigi alludes to the fact that, well, he sings that about their romance. I don't know. And Momo is pretty, again, annoyed at this whole thing, and she throws a chair at Okurun. You know, I love Momo. I think she's fantastic, but I think she's being a little bit. I think she's being a little bit of a hypocrite here. I think she wants Okurun to properly deny Aida, but she hasn't done that with Gigi, and nobody knows really what's going on with the two of them. And she blames Okurun for that. I don't know. I just think that eventually we'll get to a point, I think, where everybody can just be honest. But we'll see. Anyway. Aida wants to know what Momo thinks that she's doing, and Momo tells her to stop sticking to Okurun. She's obviously, the jealousy has happened, the protectiveness is there now. They're basically in a relationship in everything but name. Just, you know, like, I don't know. Exhausting. These two are exhausting. Honestly. We see the girl. The mystery girl. And she's hearing that the things that she's doing is all wrong. If you don't make your opponent yield first, like you said, yield first, right? My mistake, guys. If you don't make your opponent yield first, you can't steal their abilities. And she was granted power to be able to do that. So this being can talk into people's minds as well, which we see quite, I don't know, it's all cloak and dagger, right? Anyway, confront your desires, and she is essentially being followed by an army of pygmies. Yeah, you're damn right. We're going to keep coming back, because that's the whole point. Part of me is going to be a little sad when it's gone. You know, when this is over, and they're together, because I do quite enjoy the fact that we don't know, you know, the back and forth and all this kind of stuff. It's nice. I mean, even one thing that I realized doing that last video on the Cursed House arc is how much I really enjoy early Okurun and Momo. They don't know a thing, and it's all just brand new, and I don't know, there's something about it that's so overwhelming. I don't know. This is also fantastic. They've gone to something deeper, but there is something exciting about the early stages as well. She goes back to class and looks around. She's obviously looking for Momo. This girl is distressed. It's the thrill of it. Yeah, to be honest, like in the Raiko thing, I don't know whether or not the newest chapter was actually in the Raiko location, the Raiko Kashima location, or whether it's just reused assets, which I know Tatsu uses to speed things up, so I don't know. She's looking for a man right now anyway. She goes in and she says to a girl that that's her seat. And it's terrible, really. She's getting bullied as well. You know, this series, man, they introduce people or things or monsters, and then they just make you feel for them in this way. It's so terrible. Like, anybody who's ever been lonely before knows what it's like to be seen through, right? To be seen through, and it's cold, right? And being acknowledged once, and it being to make fun of you is, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing, and seeing this happen, it's awful. Some people just like to have punching bags, man, and I find that so depressing. And I don't know what Tatsu went through, but he clearly knows this. He clearly knows this. It's awful. But anyway, she's got a sister, and she's the apple of her parents' eyes. So she's kind of the black sheep of the family, and including her sister says, "Don't mention me in the same breath as that loser." That's cold. That is ice cold, by the way. Like, whoa. Like, what the hell? What happened? People are mean. That is exactly it, man. People are just mean. You hate to see it. Like, I think it's one of those things where people just kind of see people that they don't know as kind of like not really people, right? It's the only way that you can act so horribly towards people, is to be like that. Anyway, they call her talentless, and you know, when she was young she had lots of awards and stuff, but as she grown up, she kind of fell to the wayside. And we see in one of these panels someone in second place next to her, and we'll find out who that is very, very soon. But she went wrong at a certain point. She kept trying, but she couldn't keep up with it. You know, she fell behind, and in order to feel like people, in order to feel seen, she you know, took pictures of herself without clothes on, and it's, yeah, that sister was unhinged. Yeah, for real. Like, and she was being blackmailed by it as well. It's terrible, really, what people will go through, I suppose, to be seen, right? And this is another thing, again, why the cast is so important together, because they all want to be seen, you know? But anyway, she's being blackmailed into working for someone, and that's why she's doing what she's doing, because obviously, I mean, it's bad. It's bad in like the States or in the UK or anywhere in the Western world for someone to be, for those pictures to leak, for leaks to happen. But in Japan, I can only presume it's very bad, right? It's much more culturally conservative, so it's, yeah, it's a hard thing. It's hard to really bet against her when you're seeing that kind of stuff, in fact. Anyway, they're looking around for this girl again, and they keep looking around, and Momo is just messing around. She's carrying pieces of what appear to be fruit over her head. I don't know. She's having the time of her life being small, to be honest. And, you know, like, I suppose there is something that must be quite fun about it. I have a cat, so I would hate to be small because she would immediately eat me. However, Momo seems to be enjoying it, and they just lost the cat, so... Oh, Turbo Granny, come back. And she's messing around. She starts to fall out of Ida's pocket, and Momo, Ida tells her to be serious. She says, "Momo, please be serious." Like I was saying earlier, I know, why not make the most of it? I suppose you could have some fun with it. Like I was saying earlier, Ida calls her by her first name. She says Momo rather than Ayase or whatever, which is really nice. You know, like, they are friends. They started as not friends. They could not get along at all. Yeah, but they're friends now, close friends, and it's so nice. I love Ida. I'm really excited to getting around to make an Ida video. By the way, guys, I'm hoping that I can do that after I get a little bit more from this arc. But I I really do like Ida. I think she's fantastic. She's just so yeah, she's awesome. She's great, and she's really grown into herself, I feel. Anyway, they keep looking around for her, and Momo's saying that she'll recognize her in a flash when she sees her. And they keep looking around. They go to check Class A, and they find her. Momo notices her immediately, and the chase is on. They just run after her down the hallway, and Gigi strikes a pose. Of course he strikes a pose. He always strikes poses. The guy's strange guy. Strange guy. I love him. He's a strange guy. I suppose he's trying to distract her, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, they start running down the hall to find her, and Sanjome appears out of nowhere and says that please don't run in the halls. And they do this, like, everybody's been there, right? Oh, I didn't realize that you lived in Asia, Paul. That's crazy. Yeah, no, I can only imagine what it must be like for to have those pictures leaked. Anyway, anybody who's ever been caught running down the hall, you do that kind of thing where you're like pretending not to run, but you're also walking kind of quite fast, like it's a power walk. Yeah, we've all been there, and that's what they're doing. They go around the corner, and the minute that they turn the corner, they sprint off, and they run over to her. Gigi is in full speed, like he's on this, right? And we do see this slightly more concentrated version of Gigi in these arcs. He takes this very seriously, the fact that Momo is small. They start looking around for her, and they go into a classroom, and it's empty. There's no one in there. 171. Chapter 171. They corner her in the science classrooms, or cooking classrooms, and the door slams shut and locks, and nobody else can get in. And Kinta takes that as though he's being excluded from the group. And, you know, to be fair, like, I'm not surprised that he feels like that, because they did try to exclude him from the group earlier in the series. And when he shows up on the Acura bike, it's like they just straight up say that note was not for you. And he just, I'm gonna pretend that I didn't hear that. So I don't know. It's nice to see him, you know, I guess trying to be properly part of it. Anyway, he tries to break in. He gets into the room, and they're gone. They can't find Okura and Ida or Momo, and they're in the dark space, essentially. Empty space. So whatever power it is that's being used is not of this earth. And just like that, all of the clothes and stuff start to get attached to various different items in the room. Yeah, to be fair, I've been rereading lots of it just as I've been making these videos, guys. And as I've been going through some of the more recent stuff with like Kinta and stuff, I do feel a little bit bad about, you know, some of the early presuppositions that I made about him. He's not that bad. He has moments where he's, you know, annoying, but he's not that bad. I really hope that he starts to kind of head in the direction that we all want him to. Alright. No worries, dude. Have a good one. Thanks for joining. It was great to see you. Yeah, we might not... I'm going to be honest, guys. We're probably not going to get through this entire arc in this one video. It's just... I don't think it's going to happen because it's getting late here as well. I think we'll finish this chapter, and then maybe we jump back on in a week, maybe next week, especially because we've got nothing between now and yeah, we'll see. Let's just keep going for now. Anyway, yeah, so he doesn't have Turbo Granny's power anymore, but he's still been pulled into the empty space. And Ida tries to protect him. Live stream to part 2. Yeah, look, if you guys really like this, like, please do let me know in the comments, in this live chat as well. You know, be good to get back onto it. Anyway, they Ida has to protect him, essentially, because he doesn't have powers anymore, right? But he's still been pulled into this space. And his trousers get attached to Ida's skirt. They just merge together. And Momo's pretty upset about this. Because of the fact that what it looks like. And then knives fly at them. Knives fly at them from across the room, and they barely manage to avoid them thanks to the combined efforts of Momo and Ida. Look, at the end of the day, right now, Okurun's a lot more. What would you say? He's a lot more fragile because he doesn't have powers, right? Like he's just a guy at this point. He's got as many powers as Kinta, better shape than Kinta, but as many powers as Kinta. Oh, thanks guys. I'm glad that you guys enjoy the stream. That makes me really pleased, honestly. I was really worried leading up to it, so that's great to hear. Well, we'll get to the pygmies in just a second. But yes, they're just sewing the clothes together, and because they're so small, nobody can see them doing it, and there's so many of them, they can do it so fast. Ida is in a compromising position with Okurun to protect him, and he thanks her. And also says that I think it was Ida that said that Momo was doing awesome, because I don't think Okurun would say you did awesome to Momo, right? Like, I don't think that he'd say Momo. He'd probably have a heart attack. And while Ira is on top of Okurun, they get connected as well. And yeah, it looks interesting. Ida is kind of into it, but kind of also, you know, doing that thing where she's pretending to be ashamed of it, that kind of thing. And then also alludes to the fact that, well, now they must be honorably betrothed and get married and all this. And Okurun essentially, well, you know Ida at this point, guys. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I'm honestly obsessed with Dandadan right now, so expect more for quite a while to come. We're not done until all of these arcs are complete, and then, you know, maybe I'll also splice in some other stuff. I've been watching Freyrun recently, but when I get more time, I've been editing just non-stop, right? Like just to get this stuff ready for you guys, and also it really drives me to do, you know. Anyway, Momo tries to get them to get off of each other, and then she sees the pygmies sewing their clothes together and tries to stop them. She's small enough that she can also see them, right? And it looks like that's the secret, is being tiny. And yeah, she uses the knives to cut them apart, and it looks like Momo is going to be really important in this sequence. And Ida's skirt is all torn up. They're going to need more uniforms again. Every other day, right? Every other day, guys. And it's kind of like, it's like falling on an anthill, because they're just getting covered in these little guys constantly. And nobody else can see them. It's just Momo. Which is probably why other people can't see Momo, I suppose. But yeah, they're everywhere. Swarming with them. It must have taken ages to draw this, by the way. Like, honestly, this guy, no wonder he's taken a month off. He must be making something good, right? And they've got a lot of like Home Alone traps going on here. Like they've created quite a collection of stuff to try to stop them. And they're climbing all over Okurun, and Momo's using her powers as much as she can to stop them. And she realizes that none of them can see them. And Ida decides that she'll destroy everything around her in order to stop them. And then she realizes that her hair is completely tied up all over the space, and the pygmies set fire to it. Nah, that's crazy. Like it's the same as that's always the weakness of Acro Silky, right? Like the hair thing. Yeah. And then Ida. Well, let's just do the rest of this chapter. Rest of this chapter and then we're done. All right? Okay. Yeah, the rest of this chapter and then we're done. Like 10, 15 minutes, whatever. Right? Anyway, the just like the original Acro Silky, yeah, Sarah, definitely. Anyway, we'll do this last chapter. And then she tries to untangle her hair quickly, but Okurun cuts it off in order to stop. Yeah, very flammable. In order to stop the fire from covering her completely. Yeah, one more chapter. And you know, he apologizes for doing it, but she says no, that's fine because he saved her. And they need to be careful of the fire because there's gas in the room and it could explode. So things are getting pretty bad. And they decide to cut off exactly where her hair's tangled in order to stop them from using it against her. Honestly, Okurun is definitely... He's holding his own, to be fair. Like he's holding his own. But he's still just a guy, right? I've always felt like Ida is one of the most valuable people in the group, and she shows it here for real. Like, she's just crazy. She's kicking stuff off in every direction. She's really something, for sure. But they still can't see the pygmies, so it's like, what are they supposed to do? How can you find? I mean, you can presume that they're on every single surface all over the room, right? Which they are, and they're climbing up his feet, and just like that, as we've seen many a times before, they start to strip the clothes off in order to try to avoid and concentrate the damage onto the clothes. But the clothes just keep getting knitted in one place. And Momo's like, what are you doing? Why are you getting undressed? And then before you know it, the clothes are being tied up to the floor as well. And they are these guys can knit fast, by the way, guys. Like, really fast. And Momo is just going for it. She's fighting them, but there's so many of them. How are you supposed to? Ida uses her hair to defend herself, and Momo is defending Okurun with her powers. It's not Dandadan if someone's not stripping. That's true. That is true. These guys get, like, undressed all the time. Like, constantly. In fact, it's been a minute since they have, but, you know, I knew it was gonna happen, you know. Yeah, to be honest, I think we got past the worst, the most intense naked scene in the first season there. A lot of people were really worried online about what that was how people were gonna respond to that, but I don't know. I mean, it's not that bad. Like, it's, you know, it's not that bad. Anyway, so everybody's really stretched thin, and it turns out that the girl is the one who's using the pygmies to attack them. She's she's the one that's responsible for it. They're listening to her commands. She's the one that's in charge. But they can't exactly find her. She's hiding away somewhere. And she knows, that's enough for Momo to know that means that she is the one who is needing to be attacked, because she's the weak point. And Okurun and Ida, they just continue to strip. And Ida says that she's fine with it as long as she's doing it in front of Takakura. And Momo is like basically doing all the work as everyone's just running around. Also, look at Okurun. He is jacked now. He's jacked. Look at him. Like, when you see him in the first chapter, he's this scrawny little dude. Now he's just like, you know, compare the two, right? So they just have to keep moving, like rolling around in Dark Souls kind of thing. Which is the only way that I play Dark Souls, like a coward. Can't see the enemy, but they're just going to have to keep going. And Ida has that agility, to be fair. Momo says to Okurun to move because there are knives coming at 12 o'clock, and he just dodges these things. Like, he's huge. He's like Gigi almost. And he's just going for it. He's using all those skills that we saw earlier. Even Ida and Momo are both really shocked at his level of physical fitness. To be fair, so am I. Like, it's incredible. The guy just goes for it. And Momo is surprised. And she says that his physical fitness is next level now. Yeah. I mean, good for him, right? Like, I mean, we'll see it as we go on next time. We'll see how the rest of the school are reacting to his transformation. But Ida and Momo seem pretty impressed with it. But he says this isn't the time for it. He says he can't keep it together, and he's definitely going to get slashed at this rate. And then the pygmies start to tie his hand, or knit his hands onto the floor, which is messed up. That's messed up. That's... Ugh. And then the same thing happens to Ida, who, without her clothes on, is also being knitted to the floor. And yeah, they've got an army of knives and stuff, these pygmies, ready to fire. And they've also got a huge burner that is currently on, being levitated from the air. So they're battle ready. This is like a siege. It's like yeah, it's like Helm's Deep, right? Like this is like legit. Momo's found her though. She found her aura and knows where she's hiding. Yeah, and as a consequence of the fact that Momo knows exactly where she is, they aren't attacking anymore, because Momo is essentially putting her their leader in harm's way. So if they attacked, they would hurt the girl. And so Momo grabs it and throws it at her using her spectral abilities. Right. Okay, guys. I think that's where we'll stop with that. If you want to do a little debrief while we're here. You know, I think I'll probably put this video up. I don't know. I think it goes into a separate section of the channel. If you guys want that. I mean, look, this has been great. I'm glad that we did this, to be honest. I was worried that it wasn't going to turn out especially well, just because I was a bit nervous, but as I've already said. However, this has been great, you know, hanging out. I've been enjoying hanging out with you guys. Again, I know I wanted one more chat. Honestly, like, it's if I didn't have work tomorrow, I'd be here all night. It's gone midnight now, but yeah, this has been awesome. I feel like, you know, everybody. I feel like we're seeing a lot of the same faces, and you know, some new faces as well in some cases, and everybody is welcome. It's so good. Like, honestly, I had no, you know, welcome, and also I'm sorry that you were late, but you can always go back and rewatch it. You know, the whole thing got a little bit more focused as I went on, I think, but you know, I think that I never anticipated that first Momo and Okurun video to go anywhere. As you probably can tell, I got a little obsessed with it, with Dandadan, and I felt like I needed to make something to express that, because I thought it was special. It was something special, and since doing that, you know, I noticed that there are other people like me who really care about it, and I want to keep doing this, you know, and I want to keep making stuff for you guys, with you guys, in this format, in the main videos. Look, the main reason that I thought that this format, yeah, more than a little obsessed, yeah, I thought that this format really worked because I don't want to slow down the speed in which we're putting out the actual main videos. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you've watched it so many times. I can't even fathom. It's all. I can't even believe that people would watch it multiple times, more than once. Like, the fact that anybody watched all of it at all is crazy to me, and the fact that people watched it multiple times is even crazier. It's even crazier. But look, yeah, like I said, the reason that I thought that this format would really work is because it won't slow down the videos. Because I'm not going to be working on the videos at this time at night anyway. So I thought, perfect time. Every week we can just jump on and have a quick chat about the recent chapter, and just debrief that way. And it means that we all get to stay on top of the community. We all get to keep chatting, and we also don't have to sacrifice the speed at which I'm putting out these videos, which I'm hoping to keep up 2 a month, so 1 every 2 weeks. But depending on how quickly I can get these things written, I want to make sure that the quality is always there, right? Like, the analysis is the main thing, I hope, for you guys. It's the main thing for me. And I really want to make sure that this is a place that people can come back to and feel like they're not learning something. I don't want anybody to feel like they're learning something. I feel like everybody already knows everything that they think and feel about these characters and these relationships and these arcs. But what I hope to do, at least I hope to do, is to just say it in a way where people realize what it is about these things that make them feel how they feel about them, if that makes sense. That's the main thing. That's the main takeaway for me is yeah, to enrich it, to make sure that everybody feels like they are understanding why they already understand it slightly better. Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Sarah. That's very nice of you. I don't know. Like, you know, next, like I said, anyway, guys, I probably would stay here all night if I could, you know, but alas, bedtime calls. However, like I said, new video coming out, ideally Thursday. Hopefully you guys are ready for that. I am hoping to turn that into a premiere so we can all sit and watch it together. I'm also thinking of maybe launching like a membership thing. Always completely optional, guys. Always going to be completely optional. I don't want anybody to feel like they're being forced into paying anything for anything. I have zero interest in forcing it, but you know, maybe they'll come with like little badges or something in the chat that you can get, or some kind of priority, whatever. We'll see. Because honestly, the more that I can justify spending more time doing this, yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it, really. That's my main thing right now, is this. Every single day. Like, immediately after work, when I get back from work tomorrow, it's going to be straight onto editing the video and getting it done. There's some really cool stuff in there, guys. I'm really excited to get it out. Like, honestly, I just hope that I can get it done for Thursday. But I will schedule the premiere on the day so that we can all be ready for that. And yeah, look, guys, like you're all saying in the chat, it's been so fun. Like, it's so good. I'm shocked that you people listen to me ramble about things. You know, like, honestly, I'm rambling now. You know, rambling. I ramble. Like, even talking through chapters of a manga is rambling, and you guys clearly enjoy that, and that makes me very happy. So thank you all for being here. I don't know how to end a stream. In fact, I barely even know how to work a stream. So, right. Well, I should probably get going. I will probably upload this ASAP to the channel, so that if any of you want to go back through it, again, very unfocused, I think, compared to other stuff, and I hope that this doesn't make anybody... Thanks. I appreciate the rambling. And I hope that this was focused enough for people who didn't want the live stream. I hope that this was focused enough on the manga for them to also feel not excluded and included, because I really want everybody to feel like there's something for them on the channel and not feel ostracized. So, right, guys. So, Thursday, I'll probably make some kind of post before then, just because I enjoy engaging with all of you. Otherwise, you know, in the description, I've got my coffee. I've also got my Twitter as well, if any of you wanted to engage with me there. There's also the background music is there as well. Again, Lo-Fi Leah, excellent stuff. You know, and she lets that get used for things like this or for voiceover stuff. So amazing work there. And you'll hear more of this from in the actual analysis video. But guys, anyway, thank you. I'm glad that you thought it was focused. I'm going to leave now before I start thanking you all again and start rambling. So